Coming up on USL Pro Weekly, it's the eve of a new USL Pro season, and the defending champions Orlando City make the trip to Charleston to face the Battery on opening night. We talk with Kevin Molino about the Lions' title defense. Also on opening night, the new-look Orange County Blues visit the LA Galaxy 2 for their debut contest. We talk with Blues GM John Spencer about the new Blues era. All of this and much more on the season premiere of USL Pro Weekly. Welcome in to the first and premiere edition of USL Pro Weekly for the new season. My name's Nicholas Murray. I'm very pleased to be joined this week, making his debut on the podcast, by USL Pro's Vice President Jake Edwards. Jake, welcome in.
Yeah, hi Nick, thanks for having me.
Well, we're 2 days away, as we record this, from the new USL Pro season. We've got a couple of games coming up this weekend. But for USL Pro overall, this is a very big year. There's the expansion of the partnership program with MLS. We have 10 MLS teams, 10 USL Pro teams now partnered together after the 4 that originated the program last year. And we also have the LA Galaxy 2, who become the first MLS-operated USL Pro franchise. Overall, it's been a very busy off-season. There's certainly a lot to look forward to this summer, though.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. You nailed it with those 2 points. We're coming into the year 2 now of the partnership with Major League Soccer. Year 1 was, looking back, a resounding success. A few teams dipped their toe in the water, and words got around, and we've worked really hard in the off-season with all the MLS teams, and they've seen the benefits of the teams that affiliated last year. 2015 will be, 2014 is the last year of the MLS Reserve League. And so 2015, all teams will have to either field a B team in USL Pro or affiliate with one of our teams. As you said, we had 4 teams affiliate in year 1. It's gone so well that we're up to 10 now, 10 affiliations. And of course we have Galaxy 2 coming into the league, pioneering the model of a MLS B team playing in USL Pro. So we're very excited about that.
Well, I think one of the things everyone was looking at last year was the effect that the loan players had on the teams that they joined. Obviously, things didn't quite work out as well as Rochester and New England would have hoped, with the Rhinos missing the playoffs for the first time in their history. But if you look at the top of the standings, the Richmond Kickers won the regular season title. The second-placed Orlando City won the championship. And then you also had the Harrisburg City Islanders getting really good production out of guys like Christian Hernandez, Jimmy McLaughlin as well, to finish in the top 4. So do you think that accelerated things along this offseason, just seeing the benefit of what these players could offer on the field?
Sure, there was a number of players that came on loan. Like you said, they got very valuable minutes and certainly improved themselves from a developmental point of view, and went back sharper, fitter, more experienced players to their parent club. Some of those players did so well that they came from a situation where they weren't really in the picture in the MLS first team, came down, did so well at the USL Pro level, went back full of confidence and scoring goals or making saves, whatever the case may be, and actually got back into the first team. Of course, a lot of attention was on Dom Dwyer last year. He was probably the poster boy of how this relationship can work and the benefits to it. To say that teams, I would be careful to say that teams that didn't have an affiliation somehow missed out. Of course, you consider Richmond and Orlando, 2 of the top teams, really benefited from having players on loan. Those players generally did very well and won a lot of all-league awards in the USL Pro. The championship final had Charlotte Eagles, and they didn't have an affiliation. So it's not a guarantee that having those players come to you is going to guarantee you wins and put you in the top. But certainly it was a very positive experience for the teams that did, on a whole, that did have an affiliation and have those players. You
obviously mentioned Dom Dwyer, but you also look at examples of guys like Andrew Dykstra, who's now, it certainly seems like the clear number 2 at DC United after his goalkeeper of the year performance last year for the Richmond Kickers. And you look at some of the other guys, who we'll talk about in a little bit, because they're heading out on loan again to continue their development. But for me, a guy that we wrote about this preseason is a guy like John Kempin, who is great pedigree, US U20 international. Looks like he's going to be headed off to Oklahoma City this year, so continue that development. But he's certainly a guy that benefited from the minutes and is, I think, in a couple of years' time could be a very solid #1 for Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, this makes all the sense in the world for these players, both for our league and for these players. I've played in reserve games. They're just not the same. You don't get the same competitive environment. It's not the same intensity level, and they're not developing. So you're putting these guys in situations now where they're playing in front of 3, 5, 10,000, 21,000 at the final last year at the Citrus Bowl. You're putting them in a situation where they're training week in, week out with seasoned pros, and they're playing in a game where it means something. They have to win this. They have to get the points. They're playing with players that are paid to play as well, whose livelihoods are on the line, who are not going to pull out of challenges, as you might see in reserve games. So, from a developmental point of view, it's critical that these guys get to experience that situation, and then they really have something to offer when they go back to their first team. So they're really a very different player, and we've seen that with almost all of the guys that came on loan. And I think they would all say they've all had a really great experience doing it, and so much so that a lot of those players may have been a little hesitant first go around, but now, like you said, they are jumping at the chance to come back to the USL Pro clubs, the same clubs or different clubs, to get another season under their belt. And it gives the MLS coaches, a full season to watch and evaluate the players and see how they're doing in this environment.
Well, now Orlando City, they are the defending champions, and they got a guy coming in for them with Mikey Lopez, who's coming on loan from Sporting Kansas City. It's a very different year for Orlando City now. After last fall's announcement that they are going to be the 21st franchise in MLS, they'll be joining in 2015. They've got this new stadium that is getting set to be built. This is a big final year for them, not just on the field, but off the field. They've already signed some players to MLS contracts. You look like guys like Darwin Saren, Yordani Alvarez, bringing the former USL Pro MVP back from Real Salt Lake. And then the guys like Kevin Molino has an MLS contract. Rod Valentino, who's been all league the last 3 years, doesn't have an MLS contract yet, but I think he's a guy that they certainly would be looking at. It's a very interesting balancing act that Adrian Heath's got to manage over there.
Yeah, he's got a challenge on his hands, that's for sure. But it's a good challenge, an interesting challenge, and one he's not necessarily had to do before. But I mean, if you go through all of those layers, you come down to the base, which is they want to win. They've been winners from the start in our league. This is their final season, and they've got so many things going on over there now to prepare for the jump up. But at the bottom line is they want to win. Adrian's a winner. And he's going to be wanting to put a team on the field that not only gives him the opportunity to evaluate these players as potentials for the next level, but he wants a competitive team, and you better believe they're going to want to win this championship again.
Well, they have a really interesting matchup this Saturday, the opening game of the season in Charleston against the 2012 champion Battery. They've got a lot of familiar faces coming back. Colin Falvey, the captain, unavailable for Saturday's game because of suspension, but you've got guys like Helion Cordovez, who had a really good first season, I thought, the Cuban defectee. Jared Van Schaik, very solid midfielder. Dismal Cooper had a really, really breakout season in his first year, along with Cordovez as a Cuban defectee. But then you look at the affiliation that they've got now with the Vancouver Whitecaps. There was kind of a trial last year where they had guys like Bryce Alderson come down. Ben Fisk played a really nice role, and slightly limited by injuries, but he looked very, very entertaining when he was playing for the Battery last season. Now you've got guys like Mamadou Diouf, Adam Mena, and the young Jamaican Andre Lewis, who, interesting story there as to how he reached the Whitecaps. These guys, they've arrived in Charleston. I've been looking at their results the last couple of weeks since they've arrived. Some very solid preseason performances. Diouf scoring a second half hat-trick this past Tuesday against Georgia Southern in their final preseason game. This is a Battery side that definitely looks very dangerous on paper.
Yeah, my old team from years gone by, they've always been there or thereabouts. If they haven't won it, they've always been contending for the championship. So we expect nothing less from Charleston Battery and from Mike Anhauser again. This is not new to them in terms of having players from MLS on loan in an informal way in years gone by, but now with their first affiliation with Vancouver, it will be interesting to see how those players fit into the team and into the shape and the philosophy of Mike. I know they're all excited at the Battery to have those players. We've got some great players, as you mentioned, have come down. Have done very well so far in pre-season, so all the signs look good that they're gelling together well. Mike's a top coach, Hall of Fame coach, so he will, and he's a tough taskmaster, so he'll make sure that he's getting the right players and they're playing the right role for the team. But yeah, it's a great home opener against Orlando. It's a big game. It'll be a big test. It'll be a good chance to show the league what they're made of, and you know how they're going to go this year. But I'm very excited to see Charleston. I think they're going to be a very strong side this year.
Well, to talk a little bit more about Saturday's game, and to talk a little bit more about becoming Orlando City's first MLS signing in club history, we had a chance to talk with Kevin Molino earlier in the week, and that interview will be coming up just after this break. Well, we're very pleased to be joined now by Orlando City's Kevin Molino. Kevin, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Well, first of all, I've got to congratulate you, the first Major League Soccer signing in Orlando City's history. What does that mean to you to be guaranteed a place when the club moves on to Major League Soccer next season?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. I always wanted to stream to play at the highest level in America or the highest level in any possible country. I'm just delighted and I just can't wait for another season to start next year.
As far as this season's concerned, how's preseason gone? You guys looked pretty sharp, especially in attack during the Disney Pro Soccer Classic.
Yeah, we always look forward to preseason. I think it's the most important thing going into the season, and we've been doing pretty well in the Disney Cup and some other college games. So we've been doing good, and we just need to sharpen up a lot more for the game on Saturday. Coach Gerard.
You've got some new teammates come into the lineup. How quickly it seems like you've been able to mesh pretty quickly with them. What's it been like bringing in some of the guys that you have in the attacking third?
Yeah, I think it's great to bring in more players, different culture, everything, and I think we've been meshing well, and we've been doing very good in pre-season, scoring a lot of goals, and also Darwin international player. So, we've been working hard in training to make sure we get the relationship going for USL this season and also into MLS. So we've been doing pretty good, and we're just looking forward to the season, and hopefully we do good.
Looking back quickly, I mean, the 2013 championship, you were obviously part of that. It was one of the wildest games I've ever been at. What was that game like to be a part of?
Yeah, the 2013, unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was with my national team in Saudi Arabia, so I wasn't there. But I look at the game, and it was crazy. 7-4, it was a crazy scoreline. But the most important thing, we come out victorious, and I'm just happy for that.
You've obviously gotten the chance in the past year, as you mentioned, to become part of the Trinidad and Tobago national team. How much fun has that been? How much enjoyment have you taken, especially being able to represent your country at the Gold Cup last year?
Yeah, it helped me a lot. I've been on the national team since I'm 19, and I'm just delighted for the experience the national team has given me. Everybody wants to represent the country at the highest level, and I'm just delighted to be a player who could represent the country at the highest level, and it helped me a lot in my career, playing different countries, going different places and playing and getting results, and especially in the Gold Cup, it was one of the best moments for me, and also I played at Youth World Cup, so it helped me a lot to come to this level now, and I just want to keep on going from strength to strength.
What's the biggest challenge do you think the Battery will pose you guys on Saturday?
I think the Battery is a pretty good team. They're athletic. They have some decent players on the team. So we just need to keep focused on what we can do and don't be focused on what they can do. And we focus on what we can do and go there and work hard. I think anything is possible on our side, and make sure our defense is focused, and I think hopefully we can come out victorious.
Coach Heath is obviously wanting not only to look at guys ahead of MLS next season, but I think he also really wants to win another championship in USL Pro before he moves up. What's his message been to you guys throughout this preseason, and especially this week leading up to the opening game?
even to don't take these games for granted, because these games are very important, and you want us to win this championship because it is important. This could take us to another level going into MLS, and I want to be more hungry like we never wanted before. And we've been working very hard in chasing that as well, just to come out victorious in the USL champion and going into MLS with high expectations and with a little more confidence.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate it. Best of luck for this season as you guys defend your title.
Well, thank you very much.
Obviously, very interesting talking to Kevin, and I think, as you mentioned in part one, the goal of not just giving himself a chance to assess players, but going out on a high, winning a championship, is the priority for Orlando City this season. And it'll be interesting to see how they compete. We know that their fans definitely have high expectations. They have a beautiful temporary stadium at the Disney Wide World of Sports Complex. Very fortunate to, again, be able to go over there for pre-season to see a few of their games, where they went 0-4 against MLS opposition, including a couple of brilliant 4-4 games against the Columbus Crew and New York Red Bulls. So definitely a tremendous environment for them to play in, definitely a tremendous team that Adrian Heath has to work with. It'll be, and I think this game on Saturday should be a terrific curtain raiser for the season.
It will do. There's no doubt. There's two top teams there and some fantastic talent on display, and two very good and very experienced coaches. So it's going to be an interesting battle. It's either going to be a cagey 0-0 perhaps, or it's going to be a very high-scoring game. I mean, both teams have been scoring some goals, a lot of goals in pre-season, so I'll be expecting it'll be the latter.
I'm really excited to see Mamadou Diouf. I got a chance to see him at the MLS Combine. He's a rookie coming in this year, just big, powerful forward. And it'll be really interesting to see how he fares going up against a couple of really good centre-backs in Brad Russell and Rob Valentino.
Yeah, without doubt. You mentioned Orlando. I mean, and Adrian and the challenge on his hands, we touched on that in part one. Orlando have been an exceptional ambassador for USL Pro as a club on a whole. Phil and all the team there in the front office have been great champions of what we're trying to do, great believers and promoters in our league and what we're trying to do. They will certainly be missed. The record they leave behind is extremely impressive, and as you said, they're doing all the right things now. They're getting a new stadium plan put in place, 20 or so thousand seat stadium. It's going to be very exciting to watch MLS soccer there in Orlando. They've got a great fan base that worked so hard to cultivate that over the last few years. They've got some passionate supporters there. I have no doubt they're going to fill that stadium out, as will they certainly fill out this stadium at Disney. So we're expecting a lot more changes. They've been making a lot of changes off season, not just on the playing side, in the front office as well. They've brought in a lot of talent to their front office and really built out that team. So we certainly wish them well in the future. I know they're going to be a great addition to Major League Soccer. But this is our final season with them, and like I said, they've been winners from the start, so no doubt that'll be their primary focus again this year. And what an opportunity for all of those players. Some of them, like you said, have been signed on MLS contracts. The ones that haven't, it's a great opportunity. They're in the shop window now. It's up to them to perform and to stake their claim for a future MLS contract.
Well, while Orlando is getting ready for its final season, we have two teams, brand new teams that are coming in Oklahoma City and Sacramento. The Energy and the Republic both seem to be doing a lot of good things off the field. The people they've put in the front office, the ownership groups that they have, certainly seem very, very well prepared. The squads they're putting together certainly look as though they're going to be ready to compete from day one. And then you've got two very high-profile coaches in former Sporting Kansas City goalkeeper Jimmy Nielsen with the Energy, and former U.S. international, Chivas USA head coach, former MLS coach of the year, Preki, with Sacramento. These are two very exciting additions to the league.
Two great organizations, without doubt. We are in an exciting time in our league. We're in a heavy expansion, aggressive expansion mode, certainly into the West, Central and West. But that's a deliberate and very selective expansion mode. And so when we're looking at new, potential ownership groups, there are a lot of stringent criteria now that we are looking at in these two organizations, Sacramento and Oklahoma City. The groups that we've chosen there, we selected the right groups without doubt, and we can see that now in how they've performed. Neither team have kicked a ball in USL Pro yet, and what they've managed to accomplish off the field so far has been astounding. It's very pleasing to see. The ticket sales, season ticket sales numbers for both teams are extremely impressive. I know both organisations have assembled a front office of extremely talented individuals that have worked at both major and minor league levels. So they get it. They're savvy sports executives and sports owners. They know what they're doing. We feel very confident in the product they're going to put on the field. They've got two great coaches, as you mentioned. I had a nice chat with Jimmy this week. He's very excited. First time, in a coaching role, or in a head coaching role of a pro team. And I know he would say it's been far better than he even anticipated so far. He's really enjoying himself. He's got as you said, a great pedigree. He's a great guy, and he's assembled a great group of players, and they've had a really good, strong pre-season. I believe they're in Dallas at the moment, wrapping it up. But he's very excited about what he's got on the field, and I know some of the players, and we're very excited about what Oklahoma City are going to do. And you said with Preki, Preki has got a fantastic name, and what he's done in the game has been very impressive here in the US. And from what I've seen so far of the players and the standard of play, it's very exciting, and they're getting a great support. I think they've done about 5,500 season tickets so far for their new stadium there, about 8,000 seat stadium in Cal Expo.
Right.
So it's going to be a great atmosphere, and they're excited to see how they both fare in their inaugural seasons.
Well, we'll have a little more chat about Sacramento next week as they prepare for their first game in club history against the LA Galaxy 2, whom we should probably talk about now because they kick off this Saturday. It's the first MLS-owned and operated USL Pro club. Kurt Anolfo is the head coach, and there definitely seems to be a very interesting blend of players that they're bringing in to man this roster. I look at some of the names out there, and they're names that are somewhat recognizable to people who have kind of been following kind of the depth charts of the Galaxy. You look at a forward like Jack McNeil, who's a homegrown player, very big, strong. Oscar Sorto, a guy who's come in and certainly should be able to compete immediately at this level. Guys like Ada Aliola. But then they're also bringing in guys with USL Pro experience. I've seen a guy like Travis Bowen, who was with Phoenix last year. Very talented player, very good forward. He's going to provide a little bit of experience, a little bit of leadership, a little bit of nous in the locker room to help that team come along. It's going to be interesting to see how this all comes together. And we know that there are other clubs. If Orlando and Richmond and Harrisburg and Rochester last year were the clubs that people were watching this time last year in USL Pro, the Galaxy 2 are the team that everyone's watching to see how this works.
Yeah, make no mistake, everybody's watching this. Everybody's going to see how they do. It's very exciting. It's exciting from the league perspective. I think it's very exciting for soccer, professional soccer in the US. They're pioneers. They've been pioneers in the last 20 years on many different fronts. And I think if there was a team to do this, an MLS team to be the first to do this, it was going to be LA Galaxy. We're very excited that they've made the commitment to do this. I think it makes a lot of sense for their development model that they have. You're going to, chatting with Jovan and Dave Cameron and Kurt, they're very excited. Of course, Bruce too. They all 100% believe this is the way to go, and I think they're going to put a team out there that is extremely competitive and is a great representation of the LA Galaxy brand. So, are there intentions to throw huge resources behind this and win the league? No. Are there intentions to put a very competitive team out there and hopefully develop some of these players and bring them into the first team? Absolutely. And how are they going to do that? Well, as you said, they're going to put an interesting blend together, and we'll see how it all works. I mean, they've got a number of international players that they're looking to bring in. They've got some academy players from the Galaxy that will make their appearances. we've got a number of players that are on the fringe of the first team. So you've got to appreciate the quality of those players, that they're in the frame for the Galaxy first team. There are a few places, down the roster, but they're seriously are contenders. Perhaps this year or in a year or two's time. So you'll have that group of players that are competing, and they said from day one, we want to have players that are already seasoned veterans from the USL Pro that know the league. That's important. You can't just have a team of younger players. They need to have some seasoned pros to guide them on the field. So they will have that. They're going to have, like I said, a nice blend of players that have experience in the USL Pro, players from the Galaxy on the academy level, players on the fringes of the first team, and some new international players coming in, and players that they're looking for. So it gives them opportunity to try out some of these players and see how they do. Make no mistake, they're going to have a good side, and they've got a great coach there. Kurt's a fantastically experienced coach, and from Bruce, Kurt, and Jovan, and all the guys there, and all the front office staff. The whole organisation, to be fair, is extremely excited about it, and they're putting a lot of effort behind it, promoting the games, and it'll be. I think a number of other clubs will follow suit, and I think they're going to get a lot of benefit from doing this. And I think this is great for our league, and it's great for soccer in general in this country, and it's certainly great, and it's great for the club.
The thing I'm looking forward to most is particularly because I'm kind of a wonk in this aspect, is the academy players. We saw last year where USL Pro introduced its new academy rules, where the Richmond Kickers and Pittsburgh Riverhounds were both able to bring players up from their academies. We had Evan and Vaughan Fowler become the first academy players to compete in a USL Pro game for the Richmond Kickers. There's a very good article right now that I think that got published this morning on recklesschallenge.com that details a few of the guys from the Galaxy's academy that you might be able to see competing for this team, for the Galaxy 2 this year. And these guys are 17, 18 years old. They're guys that compete in the development academy, and these are guys that will benefit greatly from the opportunity to go up against the Sacramentos of this world, to go up against the Arizonas of this world, and to go up against their opponent this weekend, the Orange County Blues, who enter a new era, and they have a new brand, a new name, a new stadium, a new general manager in John Spencer, but they have some familiar faces returning. There is still that part of continuity as they move to Antietam Stadium on the campus of UC Irvine, where you have a guy like Chris Cortez, who had 9 goals last season. You have a guy like Alan Russell, who has obviously been a great leader for the club in the last couple of seasons. So this is a team that is new, and yet there's a very solid foundation from the playoff team that they had last season.
Yeah, without doubt, and you need that continuity, and they've been smart to retain those players. Very good players, very experienced. They know how to compete to the championship. They know how, like you said, they just missed out in the playoffs, but they know how to get there. So it's important to keep those players, bring on some new talented players, that's for sure. They've retained the coach, and he's done a great job last year, despite some challenging circumstances. It's made all the sense in the world for them to do the rebrand. They struggled last year to create an identity, to create real relevance where they were. Moving to a new location, got a whole new marketing strategy. They've brought on a lot of talented people into the front office that have advised them on this rebrand. So, new logo, new name, new location, new stadium, new plan in place. Yeah, very exciting times there for Orange County Blues. Got some good young players coming in and a couple of seasoned veterans staying. So I think no doubt they'll have a strong product on the field. They've got they've led the way for us on the West Coast for the last few years. It's been challenging for them, but they've stuck with it, and they've maintained the USL presence out there. Now we're able to build out the Western Conference now with the Galaxy and Sacramento and Phoenix, and there'll be a number of teams coming there in the next year or two as well to fully bump out that West Coast conference. So they've done an outstanding job to anchor the USL Pro out there, and for that we're very grateful, and we're expecting some good things from them this year.
Obviously, they picked up a couple of very nice players in Patrick McLean, who replaces Carl Lashinsky after his departure to Orlando City. But the guy, and then Gibson Bardsley, who had 9 goals, 7 assists, he was an all-league selection for Dayton last year. Obviously, he's a guy that provides not just goal scoring, but creativity, a certain amount of versatility as to when you can play him in the attacking third. I think the biggest addition they made then was that of GM John Spencer, because this guy has obviously had great success in the PDL with the Orange County Blues side in the past. He knows the area so well. He knows how to find talented players so that to fill out this roster. I think that was a absolutely tremendous hire by Ali Mansour and the Blues ownership.
Without doubt, yeah. To your first point, yeah, I think Gibson's done extremely well at Dayton. He's, and I think he's going to kick on and do even better there at OC. So, if they can get 10 or 15 goals out of him, fantastic signing. Probably the biggest signing, the general manager John Spencer, as you said, great experience, very talented sports executive, leading the way without doubt with the rebrand and the new strategy over there. Helping to assemble guiding the coach, assembling the squad. Couldn't have asked for a better hire. So John's doing. I know he's very busy at the moment. He's got so many things to do, as all our GMs do. But John is the one to really create an identity now for Orange County and take them to the next level. Very excited to be working with John.
Well, as you mentioned, John is very busy right now, but he was able to carve out a few minutes of his time to take the time to talk with us this week, and that interview will be coming up just after this break. Well, we're very pleased to be joined now by the General Manager of the Orange County Blues FC, John Spencer. John, great to talk to you again.
Yes, thank you, Nicholas. Nice to talk to you as well. Looking forward to chatting with you a couple minutes.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the new position, and I mean, it's, as you guys hashtagged it on Twitter, a new Blues era. How are things progressing as far as the big off-season that you guys have had?
Yeah, it's been definitely a full off-season for us, to say the least. We've been active in all aspects of our club, both on and off the field. Really excited about what we're being able to start putting together and establishing here in Orange County. Really excited about the move that we've made and the foundation that we're laying for a long-term future in Orange County.
Well, it definitely seems like the foundation's in place. You guys obviously have rebranded the club. You got a beautiful beautiful stadium to play in Antietam Stadium on the campus of UC Irvine. And it seems like you've got some good returning players, some good newcomers. Everything seems to be pointed in a positive direction to build on last year's playoff place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're actively trying to put a product that's on the field that's going to be able to compete for a USL Pro Championship. That I think, you can pursue different models, but definitely have a good mix of veteran players and then also some new up-and-comers, and hopefully we can bring that team together and be successful.
Obviously, one of the big newcomers you got returning is Chris Cortez. He had 9 goals for you guys last season. How important was it to get him back under contracts and get him back in the fold for this year?
You know what? I was really excited when he made the commitment to come back to us. I will say, though, I was even more excited when we started preseason, where just seeing how fit he is and how excited he is to be playing for the Blues. I really expect him to have a wonderful season ahead of him. I think he's going to be able to score more goals than the 9 that he had this last year, which was tremendous for us. We're really excited about his leadership as well. He's been part of the Blues organization now. He knows what we're about, and he knows what we're trying to achieve. Really looking to lean on him to produce the goal production that we need to be able to win games.
The other 2 additions to your club that I really found interesting were obviously goalkeeper Patrick McLean arriving from Chivas USA, and then Gibson Bardsley, who had an all-league season for the Dayton Dutch Lions last year. What are the qualities you see in those guys as they've been going through the preseason with the Blues?
Yeah, first I'll start with Pat. Pat, obviously, in the goalkeeper position is really key. I think across the league, every club is looking to try to have a goalkeeper who they know can help them win the league. Pat, coming from Chivas USA, which is just down the road, we've been able to watch Pat very closely the last couple of years. He came on loan for a short period last year. He ended up going back to Chivas. He got some games in the MLS last year. So he's been battle-tested. We definitely like his mentality, just from a training standpoint, he's a true professional. He puts in the work that we ask him to do, and then he does a little bit more. He really is focused on being the best goalkeeper in the league, and I think he's just got a good out-and-out outlook about and mentality about it, the way he goes about his business. So I think that's contagious within our roster. Gibson, really excited to have him. Ironically, Gibson was on a team that I coached at the USL Pro Combine years ago, and we reconnected when I got this job. He was looking to move out west. He's from San Clemente, California, which is in Orange County. Obviously, he had a successful year last year. I'm really excited to have him because I think he kind of brings a little bit of everything to the table. And what I mean by that is he obviously can score the goals, but his work ethic is phenomenal. He's a true winner, and he doesn't like to lose whatsoever. He's a really true competitor on the field. I think he really brings us a dimension that we are going to need in the wings. Yeah, both of those are really important signings to us, and we're excited to have them.
You guys obviously have some more company out on the West Coast this year with the league's expansion. You open up against the LA Galaxy 2 this Saturday night, and there's also the Sacramento Republic FC joining the league. What's it like to have that amount of competition just in the state of California now?
Well, definitely. I mean, we have our natural crosstown rival now in the LA Galaxy 2, which, it's nice to have a rival local to us. I think that will help create strong fan base here for both of our clubs. Obviously the Galaxy have a name already in the Los Angeles area, but just being able to compete against each other locally, I think that's going to be, there's some natural things that are going to happen there. Players on both teams, both of our rosters are full of a lot of Southern California players. And so I think just the whole overall rivalry there is going to be excellent. Plus, we don't have to travel so far. So this year, opening our season on the road, and at the end of the day, we only have to drive 30 minutes down the road, so we're pretty happy about that. Sacramento, obviously, we'll welcome them into the league. Another West Coast team is nice to have as well. They're doing a lot of good things up there and trying to build their stadium and establish themselves in Northern California. We're excited. The West is growing, and look forward to seeing this expansion of the West, so to speak, continue in the years to come.
What's the biggest goal for the Blues for this season? Have you set a goal as to what you want to achieve as far as final position in the standings and as far as maybe the playoffs at the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, every club sets out at the beginning of the season to win a championship. I think all clubs in this league are focused on doing that. We've definitely been actively spending our time trying to put a roster together that we feel will lend us the opportunity to do that. There's a lot of moving parts, obviously, throughout the season. We play 28 games, a lot of travel, a lot of things can happen. So we're really trying to put a team together that's going to be able to compete for a championship at the end of the day. And September is a long ways off right now. Our main focus is to start out one game at a time. We focus on the Galaxy 2 this weekend. Hope to start the season off on the right foot and continue to build on that from one step to the next. Winning is important to us. We also want to establish an identity here in Orange County, and just overall, the whole excitement about our club and our front office staff. I really am proud of what we have put together here, and looking forward to us putting that product out on the field.
Well, John, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Best of luck this Saturday against the Galaxy 2 and for the rest of the season.
Hey, Nicholas, thank you. I hope you come out and visit us for a game or two this season, all right?
Well, I'll see what I can do. I'll see what's in Mr. Holt's travel budget.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Nicholas. Take care.
You too. Bye for now. Obviously, the Blues game against the Galaxy 2 on Saturday night is the second part of our opening day doubleheader, started off by Orlando City against the Charleston Battery. That game's 7:30 Eastern Time. Blues against the Galaxy 2 at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And both games available for the first time with our new partners, YouTube. We've obviously seen what YouTube has been able to bring to MLS in the past, streaming preseason games in the last couple of years. And obviously this is a terrific new partnership for USL Pro to have all of its games live and free, and then also available on archive and very quickly after the games for fans to review all of the action.
Yeah, it's a fantastic platform, without doubt. It's a real statement of intent for USL Pro and where we're going. This is, as you know, we don't have a national TV contract, but as you know, the sort of the way the 18 to 35-year-olds that are the core demographic now for soccer in America, that are the die-hard supporters. This is how they're consuming soccer. They're consuming online. On mobile platforms, and I think in a couple of years' time we'll certainly be ahead of the game with this. This is the way it's going. So we're trying to. I won't say we're pioneering this. Other people are streaming games, of course, but this is something we want to get ahead of and keep ahead of the technology. So it's a fantastic platform, YouTube. The capabilities it gives us are tenfold what we've been able to do in the past. As you say, you've got this sort of DVR capability. You can live pause these games. You can watch them in any location. You can watch archived games pretty much right after the match instead of days. It gives our coaches the ability to review the matches on the way home right after the matches, and the supporters. We can streaming in high definition, and as you said, all the games will be free. You can anywhere on the globe you can watch these games. So it's we're very excited. It's a fantastic platform, without doubt.
Well, in addition to that, we do have some other partnerships that we should mention. With we have Dayton and Columbus coming in with their partnership, Wilmington and Toronto FC, which definitely seems to be very good. And then the Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Houston Dynamo. We'll get to these partnerships as these teams make their debuts over the next few weeks, but there's certainly some eye-catching players that are going to be playing in USL Pro this year. For me, principally, a guy like Ethan Finlay coming down from the Columbus Crew. Ryan Finlay coming down from the Columbus Crew to Dayton. This guy was a terrific college player. I really enjoyed watching him play in college. Really enjoyed hearing about what he was being able to do in PDL. This is a guy that I think may have the potential to do what Don Dwyer did last year for Orlando City, provide that goal-scoring punch. And if he does that, then Dayton could certainly build on what they were able to produce last season, making the playoffs for the first time.
Yeah, exactly right. I think the players that have been loaned down to Dayton are a great quality, but have such potential, like you said. A couple of those guys I think, can really make the difference. And I think those are going to be the missing ingredients to the mix that Mike and Sid have been able to produce at Dayton. They're top coaches, and they produce a really nice style of football, modelled after their Dutch, the influence from FC20 and the Dutch influence that they try to bring. But they play a really good style of football, and they're just missing they have in the past one or two key components, and I think that will tell this year. I think you're right. I think the players, the additions they're getting from Columbus, I think it'll be interesting to see how they integrate them in, and if they give them the step up they've been looking for, and I think they will. Toronto and Wilmington. Speaking with Jason at GM at Wilmington, very excited on both ends with all of these partnerships on both sides, and I know Wilmington are just extremely impressed with what they've seen so far in the Toronto organisation, Tim, the new GM, and everything they're doing up there. Certainly the quality of the players and the ambitions of that club. So I think they're very excited to have affiliated with Toronto, and equally they're going to have three, I think. They've had three players
so far, right. and there might be the opportunity for more. I'm definitely interested to see goalkeeper Colin Roberts. He's got excellent pedigree from Canada's youth internationals. And then a guy like Daniel Lovitz, who I believe scored yesterday. He's a North Carolina product. He's played for the Carolina Dynamo, so it's a little bit of a homecoming for him, going back to North Carolina to play for the Hammerheads. I think he's a guy that will fit in really nicely and do a very nice job for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Coach Irving and Ryan Nelson in Toronto are going to have a good working relationship. I think they're getting on well, and they know what each other needs. So I think that's going to be a very beneficial partnership to Wilmington, without doubt. Pittsburgh and Houston. Pittsburgh go from strength to strength. They had an amazing year last year, certainly with the opening of the new stadium. Sellout crowds. Justin Evans is an old teammate of mine, but great. He's doing great things. Very good coach. assembling a good side this year, and I think this, as I said, going from strength to strength, and the partnership with Houston will be another step on that. What a great organisation, and I know Justin and Dominic are working well together and identifying the right talent that they to help the Pittsburgh team.
They've got some great players coming back as well, with returning MVP Jose Aguirre, Matt Dolman, the addition of Josephine Guenia. And I think probably early next week, I think the Dynamo have an exhibition game this weekend. They'll, I think, once that exhibition happens, I think then we'll have a chance to find out what players the Riverhounds will be receiving online to bolster their squad for the new season. Yeah,
without doubt. It can be a challenge without doubt for the teams as they're going through their pre-season preparations and they're looking at building out their rosters. In some cases, they're not able to find out until later on the players they might receive. But it's just a credit to the coaches at both their teams that they have a lot of communication between each other, and they kind of identify those players that are going to come on loan early. And it's a credit to our coaches how they're able to integrate those guys into the formations.
Now, in addition to the new partnerships that we have, we also have another rebrand and a new ownership group in Phoenix, Arizona. Arizona United SC was announced last week, led by Kyle Lang, the leader of Arrowhead, an outstanding business out there in the Valley. And this really seems to have put Phoenix's franchise on very, very solid footing for their second season.
Without doubt. I mean, Phoenix and Arizona itself. Phoenix is a top market, fantastic market, and we want the professional team, soccer team there to really thrive. We've got a fantastic supporter base in the Furia Roca, and one of the best supporters group in the league. We owe it to those guys and to the city itself to have a high-performing franchise, and we have that. Kyle Lang has come on board. He's a fantastic sports business executive, very successful, very well connected in his agency. Have some major national accounts. Work with some of the top brands in the world, and he's a local guy with a huge passion for soccer, and he has a huge pride in what he does. And this is the fantastic ownership group, fantastic opportunity for the team. The vision and the plans he has for the organisation are very impressive and exciting, and we'll see those plans start to come to fruition this season and beyond. So I think it's a great addition for USL Pro.
Well, they kick off on April the 12th. You're going to be hosting their season opener this weekend. We've got these two games. Are there any players in particular you're keeping an eye on? As far as the Battery Orlando or the Galaxy Orange County?
I'm excited to see the squad at the Galaxy 2 as a whole, to see how they've put the whole team together. I have to say, the Battery, I'm looking forward to seeing my old teammate John Wilson. He must be about 65 years old now, so I'm interested to see how he's doing. He's leading the team fantastically.
Arizona kicks off on April the 12th. They'll be hosting their season opener. I believe that's going to be against. That should be a great event for La Fioria Roja 1881. The terrific supporters group out there that really have stuck beside the team through thick and thin this off-season. Certainly really excited to see them play at the Peoria Athletic Complex. It looks like a terrific stadium, terrific new home for them. We've got two big games coming up this weekend, though, to kick off the schedule. The Galaxy 2 and the Orange County Blues, preceded by Orlando City against the Charleston Battery. Any predictions for the upcoming games, or just for the upcoming season in general?
I think there's going to be two fantastic games to kick the season off. Predictions on this weekend, I think Orlando Charleston is going to be a high-scoring game. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I'll stick my flag on a 3-3.
As diplomatic as that.
Yeah. And the West Coast, God, it's exciting. They've got a local derby, and that's going to be exciting as that plays out over the course of the season. We'll see. I don't know how that one's going to go. I'll be watching that closely. I think it's going to be an exciting game, though. I think predictions for the whole season. Well, I just think it's going to be so competitive this year with the number of affiliations we have, and some fantastic players joining our teams, and fantastic players already on our teams that have come back for this season. I have to say, I would keep an eye on Charlotte this year. I think they've got some tremendous players that they've been signing and worked hard in the off season, as have all the teams. So I think Charlotte will be a finalist from last year. I think they'll be very strong against this year. We'll see. I'm very excited to see how the season goes. I think it's going to be probably the highest quality that we've had up to date. I think some very strong teams. I think I encourage everybody to keep an eye on it. Watch those games on YouTube, and you're going to see some fantastic soccer this year.
Well, Jake, thank you for taking the time to join us this week.
My pleasure.
Thank you, listeners, for joining us for this premiere edition of USL Pro Weekly. We hope you enjoyed the action this Saturday night as we kick off the season, and we hope you'll join us again this time next week as we take a look back on the opening weekend and take a look ahead to the second weekend of the season. Until then, my name is Nicholas Marmy. Thanks for joining us.